Hey guys, this is Matt. I'm here to do a bit of a video review of the Sony Reader PRS-505 that I got for my 30th birthday from Lauren. This thing is one of those e-ink ebook reading devices, kind of like a Kindle or an Iliad. It's about 150 to 200 quid in the UK, depending on where you get it. You can buy it from Waterstones, Amazon, all the usual places. You can also go into Waterstones and actually play with the thing to see whether you like it or not. What you get with it in the box, the device itself, obviously, a Windows only software CD, but that's not really a problem for Mac people, which I'll talk about later on. You get an extra CD full of a whole bunch of classic out of copyright books. You get this case with it, which is magnetic and actually clips onto the edges of the reader to stay closed when you're not reading it, and you get a mini USB to USB cable to connect the thing to your computer. You don't get a mains charger, but you honestly won't need it. It charges from USB to full in 2 to 3 hours, and I've been using it for literally weeks and the battery's only just down to 50%. Don't know if you can see that. It's pretty small and kind of light. It's only 250 grams or 9 ounces or so. It's tiny compared to a DVD or video game case. As you can see, smaller in every dimension. There's an iPhone in a case for comparison. Really easy to carry about, and honestly it doesn't feel heavy at all in your hands. Storage capacity, there's I think 256 megs of storage inside it, of which you've got access to about 200, which is about 150 books or so from what I can see. There are a couple of slots at the top. This is a Sony Memory Stick Pro Duo, whatever the hell they call it, and this is a standard SD card, and also supports SDHC high capacity cards, so you can add loads of storage. I think the max for SHDC is 32 gigs, which must be over 20,000 books, which is a stupid number, so you're not going to run out of space. It reads text files, RTF, PDF, EPUB, which is one of the best formats for it, and Sony's own ebooks, which are I think LRF and LRX, depending on whether they're DRM'd or not. It can do image formats, which I'll maybe show you in a minute. It plays MP3s and unencrypted AACs as well, although I'm not really sure why you'd want to do that when you've got an iPod or an iPhone. So let's have a look at reading. You've just got these controls on the face. You flip pages with these little half moon kind of buttons here, page forward and page back. As you can see, in common with all these e-paper devices, the screen does flash as it flips from page to page, but honestly you get used to that. You've also got duplicate buttons down here to flip pages back and forth, depending on whether you're holding it like that or holding it like that, and that works pretty well. There's a zoom button to zoom in to 3 different text sizes, or if you hold that it flips the display to landscape or back to portrait. There's a little bookmark button down here which lets you set bookmarks in whatever text you're reading. You can jump between those bookmarks anytime. There are these numbered buttons which are to navigate the on-screen menus, because it's not a touchscreen device. So if you go back out to the menu system, you'll see that it's always split into these options, and you can just type the numbers to hit those options. You can also type in a page number directly and hit the central navigation button down here to go directly to that page, which is pretty handy because a lot of ebooks have standard 3 or 4 page preamble things depending on who's put the book together, so you can just jump straight in by typing in the page number, which is pretty nice. The contrast, I don't know how well it shows up here. The contrast isn't obviously quite as good as a sheet of paper, but it's almost there. It's a little bit grey. The text is very, very dark grey instead of black. The paper is a sort of light medium grey instead of pure white, but it's very, very readable. There really is 180 degrees of readability. It's pretty astonishing. The first time I saw one of these things in the store, I thought this was a sticker to demo, but no, it really is the display itself. It's such a nice thing to read, even late at night or for long periods. There's just no eye strain at all. It's kind of a revelation, actually. This does not have note taking or annotations or a dictionary to look up words like the Kindle does. So obviously you need to make a decision about what kind of features you need in your device. If you're in the UK, we obviously don't have Kindle here yet, but there are a couple of other devices like the Iliad which do have some of those features. So you just need to make a choice based on what you want to use. Regarding using this on holiday or whatever, you can get cases that make this thing waterproof. I bought one a few days ago. It works really well, so whether you're reading in the bath or taking it to the Mediterranean and sitting at the poolside with your hands covered in suntan lotion, you can still take this thing around, which is great because the primary attraction of it for me is that I can take this thing instead of a suitcase full of crappy paperbacks that I'm going to chuck away after the holiday. I can just shove all the kind of junk holiday reading on this, read them all and delete them, and it takes up that much space in my case instead of huge amounts of space and weight for paperbacks. I said the software was Windows only, so what happens on the Mac? Well, this just mounts as USB mass storage, and you can go straight into the folder that the ebook files are kept in and copy stuff in, and it just shows up as soon as you remove the device from the Mac, so it's not a major problem. There's also some third-party software to let you manage things like collections, which are just, as the name implies, sets of books you've made yourself. I've got an H.P. Lovecraft collection. Daniel Kennett made one just recently called Dewey, and you can go to his website and download that and have a play with it. I think that's open source as well, or am I lying? I don't know, but I mean there's plenty of software to let you use some of the features that the Windows Sony software gives to people, so that's fair enough. There are a few other versions of this reader. This is the PRS-505. There's a PRS-500. You really don't want that, even if you can still find it. It's only got 64 megs of internal memory rather than the 256 on this. It's actually got a slower screen refresh, and the screen's darker and doesn't do the 8 levels of grayscale that this thing does, which is handy for if you're looking at some pictures on it or whatever. And it doesn't support USB mass storage profile, which is kind of a huge downside, especially given the reduced amount of internal memory on it as well. So I mean, even if you find a PRS-500 for cheap, I would seriously think of going for the 505 instead. If you do get this one, you also want to make sure you've got the 1.1 firmware, which this one came with, so you should be okay. Because it's that firmware version that adds support for EPUB and Adobe Digital Editions and DRM protected PDFs. It also lets it reflow PDFs, and it gives you that SHDC memory card, or is it SDHC? I can never remember. Support for those high capacity SD cards, so you really want that. That's a free firmware download if you get a 505 without it. There is a big brother, the PRS-700, which is, it's usually a darker colour and it's touchscreen instead of having all these controls. But you'll see yourself if you look at reviews online, the sort of touchscreen membrane that's over the e-paper display adds an awful lot of glare and reduces the contrast considerably, and you really can't afford to have your contrast reduced on an e-paper device, not until we have like ultra white paper and ultra dark text, which presumably will come in the next few years. So I would kind of recommend against getting the PRS-700 unless you desperately need the little LED lights it's got around the edge and you want a touchscreen reader for whatever reason. It's also obviously a fair bit more expensive.